The galaxy had not seen war for 1,000 years, and during that time humans were often laughed at by other species who considered them primitive and unworthy of notice. They lived on a blue planet with oceans that sparkled under their sun and mountains that seemed to touch the sky. Aliens called them slow and incapable, but humans never cared for the gossip or judgment. They focused on their families, on building their cities, and quietly on improving themselves. Humans had a stubborn pride that could not be measured by weapons or technology because it came from their minds and hearts. In the capital city of Earth, massive towers reached above the clouds, while below, in secret research labs, scientists worked on engines that could bend, space and weapons that could tear through the toughest alloys humans had learned to survive everywhere. From the hottest deserts to the coldest tundras, and in the deepest oceans they had built colonies that were invisible to alien scanners. Despite the calm and beauty on the surface, there was always a hum of preparation in the human society. They trained their soldiers in simulations that mirrored every alien species in the galaxy. They practiced strategies that no alien could predict, and they built ships that could outmaneuver fleets many times their size. In the vast halls of the Galactic Council, other species discussed humans with a mixture of humor and disdain. They joked about how fragile human ships looked and how slow their technology seemed. They did not see the sharp eyes behind the laughter or the minds that were constantly thinking ahead. On a distant station orbiting the planet, Xylar, the alien leaders, gathered in a circular chamber glowing with holographic maps. They spoke of humans as if they were toys to be broken and ignored the reports that came from scouts who hinted that humans were more dangerous than they appeared. The alien commanders were confident that if they struck first, the humans would collapse like paper under the weight of their attacks. They did not know the patience of humanity and the pride that humans held in every action and every breath on Earth. In the quiet hours before dawn, humans went about their routines with calm efficiency. Children ran along the streets laughing and playing while teachers prepared lessons that included history, not only of their planet but of the galaxy. The adults trained and studied and experimented, and even in those ordinary moments, there was a sense that something greater was being built, something that no alien could foresee far from Earth in the void of space. Alien scouts detected unusual energy patterns and reported them back to their fleets, but the alien leaders dismissed the readings as natural anomalies. They did not realize that humans had mastered energy manipulation and had built defenses that could turn even the most powerful attacks back on the attackers. The first signs of trouble came with sudden bursts of communication from unknown sectors of space. Aliens appeared at the edge of human territory without warning and demanded surrender. They spoke in harsh tones, and their words were filled with threats, expecting fear and panic to spread among humans. But on Earth, the leaders gathered and listened to the alien demands with calm eyes. They did not flinch. They laughed quietly among themselves at the arrogance of the invaders. They sent back messages that were measured, polite but firm. They did not threaten. They did not beg. They only made it clear that humans were ready and prepared for whatever came next. Across the planets, humans communicated silently through networks that were faster than light, while alien fleets began to form their first lines of attack. They believed they could overwhelm humans in hours and claim the blue planet without effort, but they had underestimated the resolve and intelligence of humanity. As the alien ships cast shadows over the atmosphere, human observers watched calmly from satellites and distant stations. They calculated trajectories and adjusted defenses, while families continued their lives as if nothing was wrong. The first warning shots were fired, and human fleets were already in position, ready to counter. The galaxy had been silent for 1,000 years, but now the stage was set for a conflict that would show every species the true strength of humans. The aliens expected fear, they expected surrender, but all they would find was laughter, courage, and a determination that had been centuries in the making. The humans were awake, and the galaxy would soon remember why they were never to be underestimated. The alien declaration of war spread across the galaxy like a shadow over light, and every species watched with anticipation, expecting humans to falter and collapse under the overwhelming force that was approaching. Human command centers on Earth and in orbiting stations were calm hubs of activity. Engineers and strategists worked side by side, plotting maneuvers and calculating every possible scenario. They had predicted the appearance of the alien fleet and had anticipated their weapons and tactics. Humans were always ready to adapt, and no challenge had ever broken their resolve. In the first hours of confrontation, alien ships moved aggressively toward human territory, expecting little resistance. They fired energy beams and missiles designed to cut through defenses instantly. But the humans had already laid layers of countermeasures invisible to the alien sensors. Shields adapted in real time, absorbing attacks and redirecting energy back at the aggressors. Human warships moved with fluid precision, dodging strikes and closing distances faster than any alien pilot had anticipated. It was not brute strength that impressed the aliens. It was the human ability to think and act faster than predicted. In one orbital sector, the alien flagship opened fire, expecting immediate destruction, but human. Ships swarmed in coordinated waves. They drew the alien fleet into traps set light years in advance, and every move the aliens made was anticipated. The alien commanders were stunned. They had expected fear. They had expected panic. And instead, they were met with strategy, courage, and the kind of unpredictability that only humans could create. Meanwhile on Earth, civilian populations watched the skies with a mixture of awe and calm determination. Families had been trained to follow evacuation and defense protocols perfectly, and there was no chaos, only focused efficiency. Schools and public centers served as emergency command nodes, and medical teams were ready to treat any casualties. Yet the human forces suffered almost none because of careful planning and superior tactics. Alien scouts reported back the unexpected losses and the strange coordination of human fleets and ground defenses. The reports were met with disbelief by the alien high command, who could not understand how a supposedly primitive species could inflict such damage without fear or hesitation. On distant worlds, the first skirmishes on alien colonies and outposts showed the same pattern. Human units moved with precision and adaptability, using local environments to their advantage. They struck quickly and disappeared before the aliens could respond, and they used technology in ways that the alien strategists had never seen. Before the day ended, humans had already disabled key alien supply lines, capturing or destroying vital resources. The aliens had expected a swift conquest and instead faced organized resistance that seemed to come from everywhere at once. In secret laboratories, humans continued to enhance their ships and weapon systems, analyzing the alien tactics in real time, making adjustments that would make every next encounter more devastating. Alien communications were intercepted and decoded instantly, allowing human commanders to anticipate every move and counter before the aliens could even act. The alien fleets grew frustrated and fear began to creep into their ranks. They had assumed the humans would beg for mercy or surrender, and now they saw a species that laughed at their threats and fought with unparalleled skill and unity. On Earth, leaders gave orders that were precise yet flexible. They knew that the war had just begun, and that patience and strategy would be the key to victory. But they also knew that the first impression was crucial. The humans wanted to show that they were not just defenders, they were a force to be reckoned with. And the alien fleet was already learning that the underestimated species they had mocked was something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. As the first night fell over Earth and the stars of alien ships illuminated the skies, humans watched calmly, their ships positioned like guardians of the planet, ready to strike again and again. If the aliens thought they could take humanity by surprise, they were already mistaken. The war had begun, and it was already clear that humans would not only defend themselves, they would make the galaxy remember that underestimating humans was a fatal mistake. The first shock wave of human retaliation spread across the sectors like a storm that no alien could predict. Alien commanders had expected resistance, but they had not anticipated ingenuity. Humans had taken the data from the opening skirmishes and adapted instantly. Their fleets moved with a grace that seemed impossible. They split into groups that acted independently yet as one, each strike precise and devastating, and every maneuver seemed to anticipate the next action of the alien ships. In one cluster of star systems, human ships appeared almost out of nowhere, striking alien supply convoys and disabling their engines before they could send a warning signal. It was not the size of the attack that shocked the aliens, but the intelligence behind it. The The humans were reading them, predicting them, and controlling the battlefield in ways that made the aliens doubt their own calculations. On the surface of strategic planets, humans had deployed advanced drones and automated defense systems that blended perfectly with the terrain. Alien scouts reported these movements, but by the time the reports reached the command centers, the humans had already moved again, their ground forces striking where the aliens felt safe and withdrawing before any meaningful retaliation could occur. On Earth, the leaders watched everything through arrays of sensors that spanned multiple light years. They coordinated fleets that were separated by vast distances yet acted with perfect timing using technology and intuition. In equal measure, humans had never relied on sheer firepower alone. They used deception, they used strategy, they used the willingness to adapt and learn faster than any alien could imagine. Meanwhile, alien morale began to crack. In a council chamber on the flagship of the invading fleet, leaders shouted orders that were ignored or misinterpreted by commanders who were panicked and unsure. Humans had shown them that they were unpredictable, clever, and relentless. The alien forces that had laughed at human weapons now found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Even the most advanced alien technologies were neutralized or turned against them because humans understood not only how the machines worked, but how the minds controlling them would react. In orbit over a desert world, human commandos had sabotaged communication relays and energy conduits, effectively cutting off entire squadrons of alien ships from coordination. The aliens responded with brute force, trying to overwhelm them, but the humans had anticipated this and the traps had been set weeks in advance. The alien fleet lost more than a quarter of its forces in hours, and confusion spread like wildfire through their ranks. On distant colonies, humans rescued prisoners and liberated worlds that had already begun to surrender to fear of alien oppression. The humans treated the civilians with care, providing shelter and protection while simultaneously using the victories to demoralize the invaders. The aliens had assumed fear would be enough to force humans into submission, and now they realized that fear did not exist in the way they understood. Humans were fearless, not because they were reckless, but because they were prepared, intelligent, and united. Every human action seemed to carry purpose, every maneuver executed with precision and confidence. The first shockwave had been more than a tactical strike. It was a message. The humans were not weak. They were not to be underestimated, and their laughter that echoed across communication channels of the alien fleet was a sound that no commander wanted to hear. It was calm. It was confident. It was the sound of a species that had endured countless challenges and had grown stronger each time. The aliens began to realize that the war would not be won with arrogance or superior technology, because humans had something no machine could replicate. The humans had courage, intelligence, and unity. They had patience and adaptability, and the ability to strike where it hurt most without hesitation or doubt. Across the galaxy, the story of the first shockwave spread. Alien soldiers whispered to each other, and some even began to question why they had joined a battle they could not win. Yet humans continued to move with methodical efficiency, planning the next wave of attacks in a cycle that no alien could break. The first shockwave was only the beginning, and already it was clear that the aliens had miscalculated their enemy in every imaginable way. Humans had laughed at their threats, and now the galaxy was learning why laughter could be more powerful than fear. The tide of battle began to shift as human forces advanced beyond the borders the aliens had assumed were secure. Human fleets moved like living currents through space-striking supply lines and communication hubs in ways the alien commanders had not predicted. Each strike was precise, devastating, and designed to cripple not just the ships, but the confidence of the invaders. On the surface of contested planets, humans deployed units that seemed to vanish into the terrain only to reappear at the weakest points of alien defenses they used. The environment to their advantage. Deserts became traps. Mountains became fortresses, and cities turned into strategic grids where every building had a purpose. Every human maneuver carried the weight of careful planning and adaptability. The aliens had technology, but they lacked the ability to think in ways that humans could anticipate and exploit. Alien leaders convened desperate councils on their flagship, trying to reorganize their forces, but human scouts had already intercepted communications, predicting their every move. They were learning too quickly, adapting too efficiently, and striking at the heart of every strategy. Before dawn, human intelligence teams had identified critical nodes of alien operations, and with coordinated precision, they struck the command centers, disabling fleet coordination and forcing the aliens into disarray. Ships collided or were forced to retreat into vulnerable positions, while humans pressed forward with relentless determination. On one jungle-covered planet, human ground forces used native predators and automated drones to harass the alien soldiers, forcing them into panic and confusion while simultaneously evacuating civilians and securing resources. The aliens expected fear, but were met with courage and discipline instead. Every human unit worked in harmony, covering each other and exploiting the slightest mistake made by the enemy. In the orbital space above the planet, human warships deployed energy nets that disabled alien engines and captured entire squadrons without firing a shot. The aliens began to realize that the humans were masters of strategy, not just technology, and that their arrogance had blinded them to the true power of a species united by intellect and will. Across the galaxy, humans coordinated attacks on multiple fronts, stretching the alien fleets thin. They struck trade routes and mining colonies, showing that no place was safe from human ingenuity. Each victory was measured yet dramatic enough to shake alien confidence and morale. Humans captured alien leaders and used them to negotiate strategic advantages, turning every interaction into a demonstration of control and discipline. The aliens had assumed that humans would be reactionary, weak, and desperate, but instead they were proactive, fearless, and precise. Humans predicted the alien response to every move and adjusted instantly, never giving the enemy a moment to recover. Every victory inspired more courage among human forces and sowed more doubt among the alien ranks. On Earth, leaders monitored every battlefield and directed operations with calm confidence. They knew the war was not about brute force alone. It was about timing, precision, and the ability to exploit weakness. Humans had patience and they had vision. They knew when to strike and when to wait, and each decision carried the weight of centuries of preparation. The alien forces began to crumble from within. Their leaders argued about tactics and blamed one another, while the humans executed their plans with a level of coordination that seemed impossible to those who had underestimated them. On a frozen world, human units sabotaged energy cores and rerouted communications, making the alien defense systems turn against themselves. The aliens panicked, trying to regain control, but humans had already moved to the next objective. It was not chaos. It was strategy executed with flawless efficiency. Across the galaxy, the first signs of alien surrender began to appear. Some fleets retreated, others ceased offensive actions, and the humans continued their advance, showing mercy where possible and strength where necessary. The tide had turned, and the aliens realized that humans were not just defenders. They were conquerors of circumstance, capable of turning any situation to their advantage. The galaxy watched in awe as humans moved like shadows across space, striking swiftly and vanishing, leaving destruction in their wake, but always with purpose and intelligence. The war that the aliens had thought would be easy now seemed impossible, and humanity had only just begun to show its full strength. Human forces had now seized the momentum, and the galaxy watched in stunned silence as the tide of the war shifted decisively. Alien fleets that had once projected power and confidence were now scattered and hesitant. Every maneuver they attempted seemed to fall into a trap or an ambush carefully laid by human strategists. Across multiple star systems, human ships moved like a silent storm, slipping past patrols and striking vital targets with unerring accuracy. Each operation was a masterpiece of timing and coordination, using intelligence networks that spanned light years and technology that adapted faster than alien weapons could respond. On a volcanic world, humans deployed specialized units that used the extreme environment to their advantage. Lava flows became barricades, energy vents were turned into traps, and alien soldiers found themselves struggling against the planet itself, as well as the relentless human forces. Above the planet, human warships unleashed precision strikes on alien energy cores and communication towers, rendering entire squadrons useless. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could adapt so quickly or act so decisively. Every move the humans made was deliberate, calculated, and perfectly timed. Humans captured key alien officers and used them to extract intelligence, allowing them to anticipate the next wave of attacks. Every victory reinforced human confidence and simultaneously deepened the fear and confusion among alien ranks. On Earth, celebrations were quiet yet meaningful. Leaders monitored the battlefields with calm eyes, knowing that every decision was critical. Lives were being protected while victories accumulated, and the strategy of patience and precision proved more deadly than brute force. The aliens attempted a coordinated counterattack, hoping to regroup and reclaim lost territory. But humans had already anticipated such maneuvers. Units were in position to intercept and neutralize threats before they could escalate. Alien ships found themselves trapped between fleets moving with uncanny coordination. Human forces striking from unexpected angles and using terrain in space and on planetary surfaces to dictate the flow of battle. In one asteroid belt, humans established mobile bases that allowed them to stage attacks and retreat before the aliens could mount a response. Entire alien convoys were captured intact or destroyed, and resources meant to fuel the invasion were turned to human advantage. The alien leaders realized that they had underestimated humanity at every turn. They had expected fear and hesitation. Instead, they faced intelligence, unity, and courage that no weapon could easily destroy. The psychological impact was immediate. Alien morale plummeted. Soldiers began to question orders, and some units even surrendered without resistance. Humans treated captives with discipline and respect, further demonstrating control and mastery of the battlefield. Each encounter was a lesson in efficiency and precision, showing that humanity was not only fighting for survival, but asserting dominance over the conflict and dictating the terms of engagement. Across the galaxy, human communications emphasized strategy, coordination, and reassurance to allied species, showing that humans were capable not only of defense but of leadership and command. Alien fleets became fragmented, each attempting to operate independently, but every effort was countered with the perfect combination of human foresight and adaptability. The war was no longer just about territory or resources. It was about proving a point that humans could never be underestimated, and that every species that had doubted them would soon learn the consequences of arrogance. On frozen tundras, scorched deserts, and deep oceans, humans continued to expand their influence using terrain and technology to maximum effect while maintaining unity and focus. The aliens had believed that technology and numbers would secure victory, but they did not anticipate the human ability to adapt, improvise, and strike decisively at the moment of greatest advantage. The first full-scale surrender of a significant alien fleet occurred without a single human casualty in the operation, showing mastery of strategy and efficiency. Across the galaxy, whispers of human invincibility began to circulate, and even neutral species looked on in awe as humans transformed a 1,000-year peace into a decisive victory, proving that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome any challenge. The human advance reached deeper into alien territory than anyone had thought possible. Fleet after fleet fell into perfectly orchestrated traps, and entire star systems began to surrender without a fight. Alien leaders tried to regroup in their central command worlds, but humans were already there, striking with precision and speed that seemed impossible to anticipate. Every human operation combined intelligent strategy and daring audacity, and the aliens found themselves reacting instead of acting. Their warships were disabled before they could fire their first salvo, and their armies were caught in ambushes that seemed to appear from nowhere. Human units moved through asteroid fields and wormhole corridors using techniques that alien navigators could not comprehend. They anticipated ambushes and counterattacks before the aliens even knew what had happened. In the vast deserts of a core planet, humans deployed automated battlefields that used terrain and environmental hazards against the enemy, forcing them to retreat while human soldiers captured strategic points effortlessly. Above the planet, human warships moved in synchronized patterns that allowed them to protect each other, while overwhelming alien defense grids. The aliens attempted to strike back with massed attacks, hoping sheer numbers would force humans into a mistake. But humans had calculated every possible scenario, and their counters were devastating and precise. Alien commanders watched in disbelief as every plan they devised was anticipated and neutralized, with minimal human loss. In orbit over a resource-rich planet, Human engineers deployed mining ships that were converted into tactical stations, capturing the wealth that had been fueling the alien war effort and turning it into ammunition and supplies for their own forces. Human scientists worked alongside commanders, analyzing alien technology and using it to strengthen their own weapon systems. The aliens had assumed superiority in every technological aspect, but humans had a unique ability to learn, adapt, and improve faster than their enemies could destroy them. On the front lines, human medics treated wounded, not just from their own ranks, but from alien soldiers who surrendered, showing mercy and strategic thinking that further demoralized the enemy. Human communications broadcast messages that highlighted discipline, courage, and respect for life, showing the galaxy that humans were a species capable of leadership and strength. The aliens began to panic. Entire sectors of their empire fell in succession as humans moved from system to system, leaving the opposition disorganized and desperate. In the command halls of the alien, homeworld leaders argued and accused one another of failures, while humans executed simultaneous strikes at power cores and fleet command centers. Humans exploited these weaknesses ruthlessly yet methodically, capturing alien officers to gain intelligence, and using it to anticipate and destroy remaining resistance. On icy moons and molten planets, human special units infiltrated key installations using stealth and cunning to neutralize threats before they could materialize. The aliens could not match the adaptability and resourcefulness of human forces. Each encounter left alien morale lower and human confidence higher. On one remote world, humans disabled planetary defenses in hours using a combination of cyber warfare and tactical brilliance, rendering the alien garrison useless and forcing surrender without a single unnecessary loss. Human forces moved quickly from victory to victory, using speed, strategy, and unity to keep the enemy off balance and unable to recover. The message was clear: humans did not just defend, they dominated the battlefield with intelligence, courage, and efficiency. The aliens had assumed that superiority in numbers and weapons would secure victory, but humans had shown that courage, unity, and adaptability were far deadlier than any technology alone. They had struck as one, and together they became unstoppable. Across the galaxy, whispers of human power and brilliance spread, and even distant species who had watched from afar began to marvel at the precision, discipline, and fearlessness of humanity. As they approached the final stages of the war, where the alien heartlands themselves would face the full might of a species that laughed at threats and acted with unparalleled brilliance. The human fleets now hovered over the heart of the alien empire, where the central command and the most powerful armadas were stationed. The alien leaders had gathered everything they had left, hoping to turn the tide, but humans had already anticipated every possibility. Every maneuver the aliens tried was countered with precision, and every attempt to regroup or escape was met with overwhelming force. Human ships moved with uncanny coordination, surrounding the enemy from multiple angles. Their weapon systems adapted in real time, and their sensors anticipated every evasive move. The aliens could barely communicate among themselves as human forces disrupted all transmissions and cut off reinforcements from distant colonies. On the surface of the central planet's human ground forces landed using orbital drops that were faster and more precise than anything the aliens had ever witnessed. Soldiers moved like shadows through cities and fortresses, disabling defenses, neutralizing threats, and capturing critical control points without unnecessary violence. Each action was calculated and executed with ruthless efficiency and intelligence that left the alien soldiers demoralized and fearful. The alien fleets attempted a desperate assault, hoping that sheer numbers would overwhelm human defenses. But humans had already created defensive formations that allowed them to absorb attacks and counterstrike. With devastating effect, alien warships were captured or destroyed, and those that remained were forced to retreat into uncharted space where humans had set traps and ambushes waiting for them. Human command had learned everything about alien tactics and technology, and used it to neutralize the most dangerous units without a single human casualty. Human medics continued to aid civilians and prisoners, ensuring that every victory was accompanied by discipline and mercy. The aliens had assumed that their empire could survive through fear and power, but they were confronted with strategy, intelligence, and courage that could not be broken. The final strongholds fell one by one. Human special units, infiltrated bunkers and communication towers, turning alien defenses against themselves. The alien leaders found themselves trapped with no escape, no reinforcements, and no hope. Their surrender became inevitable as humans surrounded the final command stations. Human envoys communicated their terms with calm authority, emphasizing that the war was not about annihilation, but about proving the strength and unity of humanity. The alien leaders, broken and defeated, had no choice but to comply, realizing that every threat they had issued had been met with foresight, intelligence, and relentless precision. Across the galaxy, humans coordinated the surrender of remaining alien fleets and colonies, ensuring that every victory was complete and no uprising could occur. The galaxy had witnessed a species that laughed at threats and turned arrogance into opportunity. Humans had shown that courage. Intelligence and unity were stronger than fear, stronger than weapons, and stronger than numbers. Entire alien populations now looked to humans as a force that could not be underestimated. The human fleets returned to their home systems, not in celebration, but in measured triumph, knowing that the war had been won with strategy, bravery, and discipline. On Earth, leaders welcomed back fleets and soldiers, each one a testament to human ingenuity and resolve. Humanity had taken a 1,000-year peace that was thought to be fragile and defended it with brilliance and determination. The aliens who had declared war now understood that humanity was a species that could not be defeated, that could adapt, learn, and dominate any battlefield. Humans had laughed when threatened, because they knew their strength was not just in weapons but in mind, in spirit, and in unity. Across the stars, humans became legends, not for destruction, but for showing that the impossible could be made inevitable. The alien empire, once feared and arrogant, had fallen to the species they underestimated, and the galaxy had learned a lesson that would echo for millennia, that humanity was not just survivors, but masters of the stars. Their laughter was not mockery, but a herald of dominance, a signal that no threat could unsettle a species that had learned to turn every challenge into victory. The war was over, and the galaxy knew that the humans had claimed not just peace, but supremacy and respect, and the 1,000-year peace was no longer a fragile dream. It was a promise secured by intelligence, courage, and unity, and the story of humans would be told in awe for generations to come. The end. The final frontier of the alien empire trembled under the presence of human forces as fleets that had once seemed invincible now faced a precision and coordination they could not comprehend. Human warships glided through the void like predators, striking in perfect harmony, while ground units descended onto planets with unmatched timing and strategy. Every alien maneuver was met with foresight and countermeasures that left commanders powerless to react or regroup. Soldiers on alien worlds found themselves surrounded and outmatched not by numbers but by the intelligence and adaptability of humans who anticipated every possible scenario and turned it to their advantage. Every city and fortress became a chessboard for human tacticians who used every piece of terrain, every building, and every environmental hazard to control the battlefield and neutralize threats. The aliens scrambled to respond, but every response had already been calculated, and every plan was countered with surgical precision. Human medics continued to treat wounded and prisoners, showing mercy that demoralized alien soldiers and emphasized discipline and control. Every strike was purposeful, every action measured, and every victory complete without waste or chaos. The alien fleets attempted one final desperate assault, hoping to overwhelm humans with sheer force. But human strategy and unity rendered the attack futile. Warships were disabled before they could fire their first shots, and alien soldiers found themselves trapped on worlds that had become labyrinths of human control. Alien leaders realized their empire was collapsing from within as communications failed and reinforcements never arrived. Their arrogance and assumption that humans would panic or surrender had been shattered. Humans had anticipated every weakness and exploited it with courage and intellect, making every alien effort ineffective and leaving no hope for victory. The central command was taken by a coordinated strike that left alien leadership with no escape, every option neutralized, and every stronghold under human control. Diplomats delivered terms that emphasized respect and authority. showing the galaxy that humans were not conquerors driven by cruelty, but masters who commanded through intelligence, courage, and unity. Entire alien populations surrendered peacefully, recognizing the strength and discipline of humans and the inevitability of their control. Across the galaxy, humans established order and stability, ensuring that every victory was secured and no remnants of rebellion could rise. The human presence became a symbol of hope and power, proving that the species could turn every challenge into triumph, and that no threat could shake a civilization united in mind and spirit. The alien empire that had declared war now bowed to a species they had underestimated, and the galaxy watched in awe as humans solidified their supremacy, not through destruction alone, but through foresight and unwavering determination. Humanity returned to their home systems victorious, disciplined, and respected, having defended peace and claimed dominance over any who doubted their resolve. The 1,000-year peace had been challenged and tested, but humans had answered with brilliance, courage, and unity, showing that the impossible could become inevitable, and the legend of human power and intellect would echo across the stars for millennia to come. Humans had laughed in the face of war, and that laughter had become a warning and a symbol that no force could unsettle them, and the galaxy would never forget the rise of a species that turned threats into triumph and conquered the impossible with mind, body, and spirit.